Hi everyone! From steep plunges through trapdoors that failed to open to seemingly cursed water parks that had to shut down because of all the injuries, here are 9 of the most dangerous water slides ever. VertiGo. At the Aqualandia Water Park in Benidorm, Spain, there's a water slide that's 108 feet tall, and it once led to a pretty nasty injury. The water slide is named the VertiGo, and it's pretty obvious why it earned that name when you look at it. When you've got a slide that's that tall and steep, you're bound to develop some speed along the way. It works by releasing those who choose to ride it through a trapdoor into the slide. Sounds like fun, right? That's why Jamie Norman opted to ride it 3 times. But on his 3rd run through, he didn't have as much fun. The trapdoor didn't open completely, and in the process, it crushed into his limbs and face, giving him scrapes all along his body and a big bruise on his head. By the time he was in the water, the pool was really bloody. Not only did he get banged up, but he had to ride all the way down with his injuries. He got treated by a doctor at the park. They didn't call an ambulance, oddly enough. And once he'd left, the ride closed. Psych, the ride opened 10 minutes after he was gone. At least they offered him free tickets to the zoo. Doesn't seem like that can make up for what happened though. Hawaiian Falls Waterpark. One park attendee got more than he bargained for inside a water slide at the Hawaiian Falls Waterpark in Texas when he stopped moving inside the slide and another man collided into him. This obviously came as a shock because Lauro Castrejon loved water slides, so he was excited to ride it. But whenever he started going down, he got stuck somewhere around the middle. He wasn't worried at first, but then he heard someone else coming from behind. At that point, Castrejon was naturally pretty freaked out, but he didn't have that much time to think. As if out of nowhere, a large man slammed into him and knocked him completely unconscious. The next thing he remembered, he was out the bottom of the slide with the man who hit him asking if he was okay. He had thankfully survived the incident, but not without a few injuries along the way. The Hawaiian Falls Water Park had 4 injuries in the same year, so it's not a one-off thing. Obviously, the park needs to work on their safety measures, or else other injuries could follow. Shoot the Rapids. Shoot the Rapids was a thrilling boat ride at Sandusky, Ohio's Cedar Point Water Park, but a few riders were left downright terrified with their experience. The ride itself was a log flume ride where attendees went down large drops, but one time, the ride malfunctioned and the boat carrying everyone flipped over while it was still on the tracks. Everyone inside the boat got hurt, but thankfully they all made it out. Apparently, the boat started going backwards along the tracks where it then ran into another boat and rollicked over. Because they were buckled in, the passengers were stuck underwater. They might not have been so lucky if it hadn't been for all of the people surrounding the ride who noticed them and called for help. A lot of things had to go wrong for this to happen, which indicates that Shoot the Rapids probably wasn't well built. Crazy enough, it wasn't shut down for a few years though. And now for number 6, but first be sure to subscribe and let me know what water slide you would like to ride on in the comments below. The Steamer. The Steamer is a large water slide at the Calypso Water Park in Canada, and it's led to multiple injuries over the years. What's more, the owners of Calypso are trying their best to pretend like it's not dangerous so that people continue to come to their park. The Steamer works by placing riders inside of tubes and sliding them down into a big funnel. However, because of the speeds that you can reach after sliding, many of these tubes flip over before getting to the bottom. Obviously, this leads to a lot of injuries, so you'd think that those in charge of keeping water parks safe would step in. Well, they might have done so more quickly if Calypso hadn't failed to report any of these injuries. That's right, the park didn't tell anyone that these injuries were occurring. Thankfully, someone finally caught wind and the park got a lot of violations, but Calypso tried to push back against them. In fact, they tried to blame the inspectors. The Steamer is still open if you're interested, but I'm probably staying away. Sounds like they aren't interested in making things safer for everyone involved. Aqua Loop. In 2012, one woman failed to make it through the loop on the Aqua Loop, a water slide inside of Australia's Wet n Wild Gold Coast location. The Aqua Loop starts you off from 56 feet off the ground, where you're then released from a trapdoor beneath you into a slide that's completely upright. Then you get to speeds of up to 37 miles per hour before going through an inclined loop, which is just a vertical loop that's at a bit of an angle. This all takes around just 7 seconds. However, one rider didn't have that fun of a time at the Aqua Loop. When she started going through the slide, she was horrified when she stopped moving and got stuck inside the inclined loop. Apparently, she wasn't able to go fast enough to make it all the way through the loop. She just kept sliding around before stopping at the base of the loop. Thankfully, she found an escape hatch nearby. But because of this, she tried to sue the park for $400,000. In her statement, she alleges that no one told her that this was even a possibility and that she had no idea how to get help in that situation. The park shut down the Aqua Loop for a little bit, but it's back up and running. But make sure to keep this in mind if you decide to ride the Aqua Loop one day. Cannonball Falls. Cannonball Falls was a ride at Action Park that would spit you out into a 10-foot jump into a pool of water. Action Park, an infamous water park in New Jersey, was well known as a dangerous place. Its safety record was, frankly speaking, horrific. While it was open, attendees experienced numerous injuries, so many that it's pretty much hopeless to try to catalog all of them. And in fact, there were actually 6 deaths, prompting the park to shut down in 1996. But when it reopened in 2010, it was riding high on its reputation as a dangerous place. And nothing speaks to that fact more than Cannonball Falls. Not only would the slide itself get you up to high speeds, but it spit you out 10 feet over a pool of water. Because of this, riders were constantly being slammed into the water at high speeds from above, leading to a ton of belly and back flops and innumerable injuries. The ride was shut down in 2015 because the preponderance of injuries had simply gotten too high. In 2012 alone, there were 70 injuries and the numbers just kept getting worse from there. Thankfully, Action Falls was shut down soon after the ride was. Did you ever go to Action Falls? Tell me about it down below. The Black Hole. The Black Hole was a water slide inside of the now defunct Wet n Wild Water Park in Orlando, Florida. The fact that Wet n Wild doesn't exist any longer isn't some random coincidence. A lot of their problems came from the Black Hole, which was well known as a dangerous slide. Inside the Black Hole, you and one other person would twist and turn down a large slide on a float together, but things didn't always go according to plan. In 1994, one man entered the ride hoping to have a good time, but at the end of the slide, he didn't even have movement control over his legs. That's because while he was going down the dark slide, he hit something hard that he couldn't see. The damage was so bad that he had to have a plate surgically inserted into his neck. The park claimed that they had no idea what could have happened. Because of this, the man sued Wet n Wild for over $1.5 million. The park had in fact conducted safety tests before, and to dangerous results. Employees who rode down the ride often said that their rafts were inclined to get stuck or that it wasn't run effectively. Sometimes a raft would get sent down even before the previous raft had finished its way down the slide. Because of these issues, Wet n Wild eventually shut down for good. Verruckt. In 2016, a young boy died while riding a very popular water slide named Verruckt, which is the German word for insane. Verruckt was a slide inside the Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City. From the outside, it certainly did look enticing, and it was the tallest water slide in the world at the time. That's probably why park owners decided to move forward with its opening while ignoring all of the obvious warning signs that it was definitely not ready for the public. The reason that this slide was so dangerous is because it was 170 feet tall and could reach speeds of up to 70 miles per hour, all while jumping up and down a big bump in the middle. Apparently, people had experienced a number of injuries while the ride was open, but all of them were cruelly pushed under the rug by park officials. Sadly, these combined factors led to a boy's death when his raft lost control and he hit his head on a pole. Thankfully, the Schlitterbahn Water Park was shut down soon after, when the Kansas City officials instituted new regulations on water parks and found many of Schlitterbahn's attractions to fail to meet them. The original builders of this ride were also sued around $20 million for damages in a lawsuit. Verruckt will forever stand as a chilling reminder that we can't let our egos come before safety. Cannonball Loop. Cannonball Loop was too dangerous to stay open, even in a place as infamous as Action Park. It's arguably the most notorious water slide in the world. We've already talked a little bit about Action Park's history with danger, but Cannonball Loop was only open for one summer and then promptly shut down. This is because it had one of the craziest, most extreme loops. If you look at the picture, you can see for yourself just how tight the loop was. During the summer that it was open to ride, only a few people even dared to try it out, and of the ones that did, most of them were employees. There are even rumors that when they put crash dummies through the thing, they came out missing their appendages, and if you look at the slide, that makes sense. Imagine trying to curl yourself through that tiny loop, after gaining a breakneck speed from the drop at the beginning. There was a certain hazing process to enter the loop. First, you couldn't wear anything with zippers. You couldn't be too tall or large because you could get caught in the loop. You couldn't be too small because you might not make it to the top of the loop. If you did make it, you'd get sprayed with the hose just to add insult to injury. This slide knocked its riders around a lot, but thankfully no one died. But its image is a reminder of just how dangerous slides can get. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have you ever ridden any of these slides? Tell me all about it in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and click that notification bell to stay updated on all of our newest videos. See you again soon!